Hi, I'm Myra Kornfeld. I'm a cookbook author and cooking instructor, and I have lots of tips and recipes to make your cooking life a whole lot easier. 'Tis a season for everything pumpkin and squash, and today we're going to look at how versatile an ingredient cooked squash is. We're going to make a soup and a breakfast from just one baked butternut squash. I started with a butternut squash. Now you could use any winter squash, but butternut has such a silky, sweet, smooth flesh. It's a workhorse of the squash world, and you can always find it. Just cut it down the middle, face down. I didn't even take out the seeds, and bake this until it was very tender, 45 minutes, 350, 375, whatever your oven happens to be on. And now you can see it came out of the oven a little while ago and it's cooled down. Here's my super sweet squash ready to go. I take out the seeds, one scoop. Why bother to take them out first? It's so much easier after it's baked. And now I can just scoop out the flesh. The first recipe, I'm going to start with the soup. I'm starting with a tablespoon of coconut oil and a half a cup of leeks and a tablespoon of fresh chopped ginger. This simple soup I'm making is only going to take 10 minutes from start to finish because I already have the cooked squash. So now I'm going to add that squash. It was about 3 cups of flesh, so it's just about perfect. I set aside a half a cup for the next thing I'm going to make. I'm adding a can of coconut milk and a quart of stock. It's just come up to heat, and I've added 1½ teaspoons of salt, so it's easy to whisk in the squash flesh into the stock and the coconut milk. The soup took about 6 or 7 minutes to come up to heat, and that's all the cooking we need because everything is already cooked in it. So I'm just going to finish it now with a splash of lime juice, a little bit of cayenne, and we'll garnish it with some fresh cilantro. The soup is so easy to make. You'll have delicious soup in just minutes. Now I'm going to take the reserved half cup of the squash flesh and make some delicious pancakes. I have here a couple of tablespoons of coconut flour and a large pinch of baking soda and salt and a half teaspoon of cinnamon and a large pinch of ginger and allspice and nutmeg. I'm mixing these together, and I'm adding my flesh, the squash flesh, along with 2 lightly beaten eggs, some vanilla, about a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, or else I could add a half of a mashed banana. Sometimes I do that. And here's my batter. And to that, I'm also going to stir in 1 tablespoon of melted fat. It could be melted butter. Today I'm going to use melted coconut oil. This is going to make enough pancakes for 2 people. I have a thin layer of coconut oil. I'm just waiting till it feels hot when I hold my hand 1 inch above the pan. I add a few spoonfuls of batter to the pan. Notice a nice sizzle. I'm going to make 4 at a time. It should make about 8. It's a slightly delicate batter, so you want to wait until you see some browning around the side before we flip them. Here. Remember, 45 minutes in the oven, but it's not your time. And then you have this great ingredient you could put into all sorts of delicious dishes.